Can you see me, Miss Quintine?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great.
I apologize in advance if my animals get in the way. All right, let's see.
What do you have there today?
For my animals,
Yes.
I have my dog and my cat, who almost messed up my computer by stepping on it. I'm trying to figure out how do you share a screen on Zoom again? I'm more used to Microsoft Teams.
There's a green button that says share screen at the bottom. If you click that, there's going to be a pop-up that opens and you can select which view you want.
There we go.
There you go.
Okay. All right. Good morning, everybody. My name is Monica Moore. I am a medical student at USF. So that means that I'm studying to be a doctor. Today for your Medical Monday, I'm going to talk to you guys about the digestive system. So kind of what I wanted to go over with you guys today is what organs make up the digestive system, and then what do each of those organs do, and how do they help you chew food, digest food, and get nutrients from it. Okay. So here's kind of like an overview of the different organs of the digestive system. As you can see, it's there's a lot going on, especially in the stomach area, right? We're not going to go over every organ today. We're going to focus on kind of the main path of where food travels. So that's going to be in the mouth, with the tongue, the pharynx, the esophagus. We'll go over each of these individually: the stomach, small intestine, and large intestine. That's what we're going to focus on today. All right, so the mouth is the first place where food goes when you want to digest it, right? And there's actually a lot that goes on in the mouth to help you digest your food. So your tongue, if you didn't know, your tongue is a really strong muscle, and it helps move food around in your mouth. And then the great thing is it's covered in taste buds. So you can taste all your delicious food. Your teeth are actually really important. They help chop up big pieces of food and break it into smaller pieces so you can digest it easier and help swallow it. And then you have different glands that are in your mouth called salivary glands, and they make saliva. And saliva is full of proteins that help kind of break down the food. And it also helps clean your teeth. It keeps like bacteria off of your teeth. The pharynx is the next part of the digestive system, kind of coming from the mouth, and it's really like a connection point between your mouth and your esophagus, which we'll get into next. But it also connects to, like, if you think about your nose and your like sinuses up here, the pharynx actually connects to those airways as well. And in the pharynx, you have what's called the epiglottis. The epiglottis is a piece of cartilage. So cartilage is kind of like soft bone. So if you like kind of feel your nose, feel your ears, that's what cartilage is. Your nose and your ears are made of cartilage. So the epiglottis is just like that. It feels like that. But it's a small flap. And what it does is it closes off your airways. That way you don't accidentally inhale your food into your lungs, right? Which is very important. So that's the epiglottis. The esophagus is the next part. So the esophagus is this long tube, and it connects from the pharynx that we just talked about to your stomach. And the esophagus is pretty cool. It's a tube, right? So it's like a ring structure, and it's got layers of muscles. And these muscles, they help move food by kind of like squeezing and releasing, and that's called peristalsis. And so whenever you do that, it kind of pushes the food down. So it's this kind of wave-like motion of squeezing of the muscles in the esophagus. And then we get to the stomach, and this is probably what everybody knows most about. So the stomach does do a lot of things. It helps kind of store food in the meantime when you're still trying to break stuff down. Primarily, it mixes the food that you eat with hydrochloric acid. And hydrochloric acid is a really strong acid that kind of disintegrates everything. And so your stomach actually has a really protective lining so that you don't get burned by your own stomach acid. But it helps break down the food even more. And then it helps, the next thing is to move food into the small intestine. And a good vocabulary word, something you can tell your parents when you go home today, is that in the stomach, it actually makes what's called chyme. And chyme is this kind of mushy substance that's part solid, part liquid. And that's your digested food as it moves from the stomach into the small intestine. So that's a fun vocabulary word. Now, the small intestine, it kind of keeps digesting things. It secretes a lot of different chemicals that help break stuff down even more to a very, very molecular, very small level. But the primary role of the small intestine is actually to absorb all of those nutrients. So your vitamins and minerals, fats, proteins, sugars, that's what the small intestine does, is it picks up all of those things so that you can use them in your body for energy, to make proteins, all kinds of things. But it also absorbs water. So, but we'll talk more about water in a second. The primary role of the small intestine is just to get all of those nutrients for you. Now, the large intestine, this is, you can see in the image, it kind of wraps around the small intestines in a way. But it's wider and shorter than the small intestine. Now, it doesn't secrete the same chemicals that the small intestine does. So it's not actually helping and break down food anymore. At this point, what it's doing is just absorbing the rest of the water, right? To keep you hydrated. You have to have enough water in your body to stay hydrated. So your large intestine is kind of what helps you do this. You can also call the large intestine the colon. So you may hear that from time to time. Those are the same thing. And then the other, main function of the large intestine, as it's pulling the water out of, the digested food, it helps kind of form feces and then helps get rid of them. Okay, so I know we don't have the stuff for the activity, but that's okay. We can still kind of talk about the numbers a little bit. So generally, what we would have done is we would have had a couple different yarns or strings, and we would cut them into different pieces, kind of representing the different parts of the digestive system. So for the mouth, we'd have like one color string, and we'd cut about 3 inches. Okay, so that's not very big, but you imagine your mouth is actually a pretty small space. The esophagus, though, is 10 inches. Remember how I said it's a long tube? It actually kind of runs like down through your neck and like behind your heart. So that's a pretty long tube. The stomach is 6 inches. So not actually all that big when you think about it. The small intestine, though, this is where the activity gets really fun. The small intestine is actually 15 feet long, which, if you think about how tall you are, think about how many U's would make your small intestine. So I'm about 5.5 feet tall. So that's, somewhere between 2 and 3 knees, which is crazy. But the small intestine, if you let's go back to the picture. You can see it's kind of, jumbled up and it loops around a bunch of times. And that's why it can be so long, but fit inside of your body. And so when you measure that out and kind of, hold it, it's really, really cool to see how long your small intestine is. But remember, it's absorbing all those nutrients. So it's really important that you have a very large amount of space getting all of those things for you. And then the large intestine, like we said, it's shorter than the small intestine. It's 4 feet, but 4 feet is still pretty big. Again, think about how tall you are and how that compares. Again, all of these things, they're kind of folded in and make twists and turns, and so that's how they all fit. But the digestive system is actually quite long, and it's really, really fascinating just how much the body can fit inside of itself. So that would have been the activity. I don't have any string with me to show you. But I hope that that was helpful. And if you have any questions, I know this was kind of an overview. Please feel free to ask them.
Does anybody have any questions for Miss Monica? No? All right.
That means I did a good job explaining it.
That's okay. Boys and girls, what do you say? Thank you, Miss Monica. I loved all the
My pleasure.
diagrams of the organs. Those were awesome.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me?
We can.
Because I also had another idea. I'm looking here at the information that you were so kind to send us, Monica. And in that email, there's the activity that you sent us. Do you want me to open up that curriculum that shows the picture?
Sure.
Okay, great, because that might help the students visualize it, and then I
Yeah.
can screen share.
Yeah,
Um,
I will stop sharing for now.
okay, so I'm gonna go, oh, do you have that handy too?
I can pull it up.
Yeah, because that might help the students. The
Yeah.
Real Science Odyssey and the Science Matters blog, and then you can pull it up.
Okay. Let's see. I don't know if that picture's super great. Let's see if I can find a better one.
Oh, I found it.
Yeah.
It's the Science Matters blog. Do you see that link?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we can share that. Let's see. Okay, so just to kind of get an idea of, what this might have looked like. So for this particular one, it's saying the esophagus is about the size of a straw, at least for a third grader's esophagus. So obviously, as you get older, your organs get a little bit bigger, right? Now, the small intestine is the thing that would be really, really long. So you can see there's a lot of rope here. They don't have it stretched out, but you can just see that's quite a bit of rope. And then this is thinner compared to the large intestine, which they use this tube, which is pretty big, but shorter, obviously. So that's just kind of an idea of, what we would have done today.
Thank you for showing them that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you
We'll have
so
to-
much,
We'll have to
Monica.
find time for them to make those.
They can make them at home too.
Yeah.
Great. So maybe you can share that with the students. That will be a fun activity to do over the holidays after
Yeah.
all that yummy food, right, everyone? And also we'll be back next semester. So maybe you can come back, Miss Monica, next semester and do some more great activities for the great kids.
Maybe I'll see you guys then.
Great. Well, thank you so much. That was,
Monica.
thank you, Miss Quintine.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thank you so much. And Miss Quintine, I'll see you Wednesday too.
Yes, ma'am. We'll see you then. I just added it to my calendar.
Great. And thank you so much, Monica. And I'll send you, let me get another, I want to get another good screenshot of you.
Okay, let me turn my camera on so you can see me.
Oh, good, 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 good. There. Okay. Great. Okay.
Got it?
So,
Okay, good.
yeah, let me get a screenshot.